Well, folks, guess what's happening out there? I've just heard on the news just about an hour ago that there is a lobby group out there saying to government right now, saying, hey, folks, the government, businesses are causing all our problems in our society. All the economic problems are businesses' fault, and it's because businesses are making far too much profits, and the government should intervene. Wow. Do you reckon that it would be wise for a government to stop businesses making a profit? Well, stop or restrict. Let's ask Dave from RO Advisors what his thoughts are.
No, the government should not stop businesses making a profit. That's not their job. That's a silly idea.
Making enormous profits.
Enormous profits? Cool. Even still, no, they shouldn't. And here's an example that springs to mind for me. Rocket Lab, they spent years toiling, working away. Now they've got something that's absolutely world-beating. Should they not be rewarded for that? Are we going to say, sorry, you're only allowed to make 20% profit? That seems ridiculous. No, I disagree with that. What I think the government should do, if the government's going to do something, they should use those resources, the time, effort, and energy into going, how do we make sure that there is sufficient competition? How is it that we make sure that there's the next version of Rocket Lab coming through? And that's going to help keep prices down.
Do you know what I'd love to see about Rocket Lab is because that really stands in good stead for New Zealand. It shows New Zealand is something fantastic. Now, what our government should do, if there's got to be any intervention at all, is saying, can we help you? And if we do, you've got to stay in New Zealand. Because I got a feeling Rocket Lab's on its way out of here, and it's not going to look back.
Well, it's not. I use Rocket Lab, but actually somewhat facetiously, it's not listed in New Zealand. It's
look at our American Cups team and a few of the sports teams. They're off overseas because it's a more fertile ground. But would it be awful to lose Rocket Lab? But let's get back to it. So you think there should be some intervention or none?
I think the intervention, if there's going to be intervention, it should be how do we make sure that there is adequate competition in different markets, rather than going, we're going to cap your profit. And I'll pick on supermarkets because really there's a duopoly, there's only two of them. Rather than saying, hey, supermarkets, you need to not make too much profit because ultimately that'll just drive them to spend more. We should be going, how do we get other supermarkets to enter the market? How do we grow that so that there's more than just two?
I believe, Dave, there's no restriction for another supermarket to come in here. So
look, I respectfully disagree. That the supermarkets have used and abused the Resource Management Act to constrain who it is that can set up shop around them.
Oh, that's saying they don't want another supermarket on their street. But that's, and the government's intervened on that and saying, well, that's not allowed anymore.
The vinter fooey they have. Look, there's rules. There is rules, and then there is the implementation of those rules. And we still only have two supermarkets. New Zealand used to have way more than two supermarkets, but they've allowed it to consolidate down to two, which has not benefited consumers. And look, it's the same thing to a lesser extent with banks.
Are you saying that overseas supermarkets are not allowed to, won't come into New Zealand because they're not allowed to go in the same street as an existing supermarket?
I'm saying that an overseas supermarket is probably going to look at New Zealand and go, that's a little bit too hard for us to set up shop there to fight the existing ones who have got all the supply chain stitched up and locked down, who have taken out covenants over all sorts of parts of land. Why are we going to go to all the effort of fighting that for a relatively small market? Versus if they could just come in and set up shop, might be a different story.
All right, so I say it's been fixed. The government have already passed legislation.
No, they've put rules into place. They don't enforce it. We've got two different things. This is like going, we've got rules around domestic violence,
so
Max.
Of a supermarket
doesn't mean it doesn't happen.
Of a supermarket wants to come in here now and are restricted because of this legislation.
There has been instances in the past where...
In the past, before the legislation was passed, but you're saying that...
Instances in the past where supermarkets have gone, not worth the effort. Not worth the effort. And to be honest, mate, I don't know that many people in international supermarkets. I know very little about supermarkets.
Do you know why they say it's not worth it? Do you know why?
What's your thoughts, Max?
Well, I know. I'm just thinking because if it's because they're not allowed to open up in the same street, I don't think that's restricting them from coming in here and showing some good competition. And we have seen some good supermarkets come around here at the moment. Farrow's, it's a good example.
Look, Farrow is a lovely supermarket, but it's hardly going to be the sort of place that's going to drive prices down, is it? It's high end. We're not talking about the masses in terms of what's getting inflation under control.
The big American warehouse type person coming in, people
Costco.
Coming in here often. Yeah. What's wrong with that?
It's not really a supermarket. It's more of a general.
Yeah, sure, but they're coming in here. I don't think there's any restriction to supermarkets. I think you're worrying about
to go into a greenfields development. And
I do agree about bringing in competition, and that should be encouraged in some way. But putting further legislation in place will not
look, I'm not saying we
encourage
necessarily
other people. Sorry, I'm speaking, but if it's not going to encourage other supermarkets,
I'm not sure we need more legislation. Maybe
discourage
we need
other
more
supermarkets from
effective
coming in.
use.
It probably will.
Maybe we need more effective use of legislation we've already got. And my point is that doing something around this is the less bad outcome. Yeah, what we've currently got, it's not very good, because we've got banks making record profits. We've got a bunch of businesses that have controlled markets making really, really big profits. So the status quo isn't all that good. I think that having a rule that says this is all the profit you can make, I don't think that's going to be any better. What I do think the less bad outcome is going to be the government putting resources into making sure that there is effective competition across the board. That's the less bad outcome I can think of.
Right. Rather than restrictions, actually have an encouragement. So carrot rather than stick. Now, Dave, we are agreeing. Finally, we got into it.
Sort of. I like a bit of stick in there too.
What's your thoughts, folks? Because Dave and I sort of agree. And look, we've got other views on it too. But really, what is your thoughts on this? Because really, I don't like any legislation interfering with business, and they should stay right out of it. But certainly, Dave makes a good point. Sorry, Dave, I have to compliment you, which I do very rarely.
I'll take the compliment.
Dave makes a good point on that. There should be encouraging competition, and I totally agree with that as well. But we don't want profits going offshore, as a lot of these other companies offshore come in and do it. Hey, Dave, thanks very much. Good talking to you, but we want to hear from those viewers. But you guys, put your thoughts down and show us what you think.
Till next time, everyone.